Welcome to this explainer. Today we are diving straight into a deeply complex and honestly highly scrutinized maritime incident that has just rapidly captured international attention and sparked some really intense geopolitical debate. We're going to explore the journey of the Global Steadfastness Flotilla. Now, this was a multinational maritime mission that began with the explicitly stated goal of delivering essential humanitarian aid right to a conflict zone. But, as we'll see, it ended in a sudden, forceful interception at sea. According to comprehensive source reports and all the documentation circulating right now, this event has triggered a wave of very serious allegations. We're looking at emerging claims of severe physical abuse, profound human rights concerns, and a rapidly escalating debate over the legality of aggressive naval operations conducted far out in international waters. So, by carefully unpacking the source material today, we are going to piece together the exact timeline of events, confront the documented physical aftermath of the activists, examine the immediate diplomatic scramble to retrieve citizens, and analyze this mounting, coordinated international pressure for absolute accountability.
Okay, let's dive into this and look at our roadmap for today's explainer. First, we'll cover the humanitarian mission. Second, the interception in international waters. Third, the arrival and documented injuries. Fourth, Turkey's repatriation efforts. And finally, number 5, the demands for formal investigations.
Part 1. The Humanitarian Mission.
Before we even get into the controversy of the interception itself, we really need to establish the immense scale and the primary objectives of this flotilla. You know, this wasn't just some small, isolated endeavor involving a handful of people. Not at all. The Global Steadfastness Flotilla was a vast, highly coordinated multinational operation. We're talking about hundreds of activists, representing dozens of different countries from all around the globe, converging for this specific initiative. They officially departed earlier in the week from the Italian port of Sicily, and according to the flotilla's organizers, their stated objective was twofold. First, to successfully navigate and break the long-standing maritime blockade imposed on Gaza, and second, to deliver massive quantities of essential humanitarian aid directly to the region. I mean, think about the sheer logistical effort required here. Coordinating hundreds of international participants, securing maritime vessels, and loading them up with essential aid, it really highlights the profound level of global planning that went into launching this fleet long before it ever left European shores. Tracing their navigational path is absolutely crucial for understanding exactly how rapidly this situation escalated from a peaceful voyage into a major international incident. So, early in the week, the flotilla departs Sicily, Italy, kicking off this ambitious voyage across the vast expanse of the Mediterranean Sea. Through the midweek, the vessels are just navigating open waters without any incident, making steady progress toward their destination. However, the critical turning point, the exact moment that has sparked all this global outrage, occurs on Wednesday evening. That is when the sudden interception takes place, geographically positioned northwest of the Greek island of Crete. Fast forward to Friday, and the full aftermath becomes visible. We see the arrival of the detained activists in Crete and the immediate widespread release of documentation detailing their physical condition. The sudden progression from a highly coordinated international departure to a disruptive and allegedly violent halt at sea really forms the core of the current geopolitical dispute we're looking at today.
Moving on to Part 2. The Intersection in International Waters.
So let's look at the neutral facts of the interception, which, as outlined in the primary reports, center heavily on geography and jurisdiction. On Wednesday evening, Israeli naval forces actively intercepted several vessels belonging to the flotilla. But crucially, and you definitely want to note this operation occurred in international waters, specifically located northwest of Crete. According to maritime law experts and the sources tracking this event, the exact location of this seizure is paramount. Intercepting a civilian flotilla in international waters fundamentally shifts the legal landscape. It moves the event from being just a localized territorial security measure into a highly contested question of global maritime law and jurisdictional authority. During this evening operation, dozens of multinational activists were detained by naval forces. The reports also note that the flotilla became kind of dispersed during the chaos of the interception. While many ships were seized, some vessels actually managed to continue their journey or successfully navigated into the safety of Greek territorial waters.
Part 3. Arrival and documented injuries.
The reality of what actually transpired out there on the open sea became fully visible on Friday. Activists finally arrived at a port in Crete, disembarking under the strict supervision of the Greek Coast Guard. However, sources describe an arrival scene that was just far from standard. Documentation immediately began circulating widely, detailing the grim physical state of the activists. Several individuals presented with deep, visible injuries, severe bruising, and clear signs of blunt trauma.
The official reports emphasize that the physical condition of these international citizens upon their arrival in Crete has raised some profound, deeply alarming concerns regarding the exact nature of the treatment they endured during that naval interception. The stark visual evidence of these injuries has rapidly intensified global scrutiny. It's aggressively moving the international conversation away from the logistics of a blockade mission and directly towards severe allegations of unchecked physical abuse and excessive use of force.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is this direct, raw quote from Imad Fathi, which offers an immediate account of the exact moment the activists were released from custody. He details, and I quote, severe beating and extreme violence, explicitly stating that this force caused deep wounds and serious fractures. As an explainer, our job is to look at the gravity of these claims impartially, utilizing the lens of the victims and the organizers themselves. The sources highlight a deep growing sentiment among the activists that these naval interceptions are being conducted with absolute impunity. There's a profound frustration documented throughout these reports, a real fear that severe human rights violations are occurring on the high seas while the international community just watches silently. This raw documentation serves as a direct, urgent challenge to global oversight bodies, demanding that the world not ignore the physical toll of these maritime operations. Building upon those raw accounts from the victims, we also have the formal official statements issued by the organizers of the Global Steadfastness Flotilla. They have formally stated on the record that Israeli forces deployed physical force during the seizure of the vessels. They corroborate the documentation, confirming that participants sustained varying degrees of physical harm. Furthermore, this crisis is far from resolved. The organizers emphasize that several flotilla leaders actually remain in unknown detention conditions, which has prompted urgent demands for transparency regarding their whereabouts and their safety. The remainder of the detained activists were eventually processed and handed over to Greek authorities upon their release in Crete. These official organizational statements solidly align with the visible evidence of trauma, really reinforcing the narrative that this interception wasn't just a simple maritime blockade, but a violently executed confrontation.
Section 4. Turkey's repatriation efforts.
Let's move to and see how this builds when we look at the immediate diplomatic response. With dozens of injured multinational citizens suddenly detained in a foreign port, home governments were forced into immediate action. The Turkish Ministry of Foreign Affairs initiated a rapid, highly structured logistical response to protect its people. Step 1 involved urgent, high-level coordination with Turkish diplomatic missions in both Athens and Crete, just to locate, assess, and document the condition of their citizens. Step 2 required the complex, bureaucratic, and logistical arrangement of chartering a special, dedicated repatriation flight directly into Greek airspace. And Step 3 represents the ultimate objective here: the safe, immediate return of Turkish citizens alongside several other international activists involved in the initiative. Listen, when a sovereign state is forced to arrange emergency medical and diplomatic repatriation flights for its citizens due to a foreign naval interception, it undeniably elevates the event from a localized dispute right into a major, highly sensitive international diplomatic incident.
And finally, Part 5. Demands for formal investigations.
So, what does this all mean? Well, the combination of two critical factors, an aggressive interception occurring explicitly in international waters, combined with the extensively documented reports of severe physical injuries, has triggered a widespread, coordinated international backlash. Activists, human rights organizations, and international legal bodies are actively petitioning for intervention. They're pushing back against what they perceive as violent military actions taken with total impunity. There is a rapidly growing, highly vocal demand for a formal, independent, and transparent investigation into the exact operational circumstances surrounding this naval seizure. The overarching sentiment found throughout the source reports is a steadfast refusal to let this incident just fade quietly into the news cycle. There's a unified global call demanding that forceful actions taken on the open seas must remain subject to strict international law, human rights standards, and rigorous global scrutiny.
Based on the timeline we've traced today, from the flotilla's hopeful departure to the severe claims of unprovoked beatings, all the way to the frantic diplomatic scramble to bring injured citizens home, one pressing question remains: what will formal international investigations actually reveal regarding this operation in international waters? Will the global demands for accountability finally pierce the silence, or will these profound questions of jurisdiction, impunity, and the use of extreme force on the high seas remain unresolved? It's a deeply complex, rapidly evolving situation that directly challenges the very boundaries of global maritime law and fundamental human rights. Thank you for joining me for this explainer. Keep asking questions and never stop learning.